Good afternoon, all of you. My name is H.C. Pokhriyal. I worked with the University of Delhi, and before that, I was with the LBSNA Mussoorie. This is called Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie. And my interest area is educational governance. We published a very interesting volume recently researching educational governance. I was also involved with the development of NAC manual because Mr. Raman today will be talking about many of the areas which are more concerned with the assessment and accreditation. I was also involved with the EPG Pathshala, basically a program initiated by Ministry, that time erstwhile Human Resource Development and University Grants Commission, and did some small exercise concerned with the national education policy and so on. So dear friends, today, we are having this very unique learning event under the aegis of Association of Indian Management Schools. We know that it was started in 1988. It's a high impact making network. Strong support, having a strong support of 550 high ranking business schools in India. One of the largest, and it is one of the largest network bodies in the world, aims basically facilitating and promoting the interest of the management education, especially under the national education policy. This management education within quotes, I'm saying that is going to have a very, very important and critical role in the coming decade, and aims is basically working for that, convening a lot of roundtable conferences, international, national workshops, and AIMS also published a journal called AIMS Journal of Management. AIMS also fund a lot of research activities and research projects, and recently they worked in the area of thought leaders under the Inspiring Young Minds and knowledge sharing sessions and so on. So broadly, AIMS is now really working within the framework of national education policy and looking into pitching this whole higher management education within the framework of national education policy. So friends, today we are lucky that we have Shri A. Thothathri Raman, a valiant quality champion, really fighting for quality management education for the last 40 years. And today he will be speaking a lot of areas which are not only concerned with assessment and accreditation, but attitude towards quality, ranking, and moreover, he will be pitching all his discussions within the basic framework of national education policy. Raman Saab is a globally awarded quality champion in higher education leadership. Basically, he is a thought leader, pioneer in introducing some of the basics which are concerned with ranking and rating, including international accreditation. He is an innovative practitioner, having a background of economics. Basically, he introduced global benchmark of quality business education equivalent to international accreditation agencies. Mr. Raman is a journalist. I think exactly what under national education policy, we see multidisciplinarity, and that is what we see. What Mr. Raman has been doing. He is a journalist. He was working with the business journalism, worked as executive editor in Business India, Financial Express, Business World, and many more. More than 27 books. Just see the number. We are lucky. These 27 books are on his credit. And his book, Knowledge Management, a Resource Book, was awarded Best Management Book by the Delhi Management Association long back in 2000. And presently he is the chairperson. He is not only associated with the Indian Association of Autonomous Business School, but is the chairperson of the Standard for Educational Advancement and Accreditation. Friends, as I mentioned, that today he is going to speak about the whole framework, what we call attitude towards quality. That includes ranking and accreditation within the context of national education policy. So rather than coming between you and our honorable speaker, I will request Raman Saab to please initiate this discussion. But before that, I just need one more minute. The participants are requested to really watch it in a mute mode. The questions they may place in the chat box, and questions will be taken in the question answer session. This is first small information. Second is that there is a feedback. The feedback link I can call will be there from the start of the question answer session, and it will be there for 15 minutes. And just one small information that the certificates will be issued to the participants who will fill the feedback. So with these few remarks, what we can do that our honorable speaker may speak up to 30-35 minutes, and then after that we can have question answer session and then summing up. So sir, over to you, Raman Saab. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Pokhriyal. It is quite a long introduction, I must say. Thank you so much for that. Many of the participants obviously may be familiar with our organization as well as me, definitely, because we have been around for more than 15 years now. Now, this presentation of mine is going to be pretty long, but at the same time, I want to make it very, very brief. So we may have to rush through a bit because the time duration is very minimum. What I'm really going to touch upon is that there's a lot of talk that goes on about quality, but one of the primary aspects that I'm concerned with is the attitude towards quality. I always found that this is very, very interesting in this country, that we do talk a lot about a lot of things, but when it comes to actually implementation, it all depends on the attitude of the people. So in academics, particularly, in my own very brief association, I would say probably about 15 to 20 years time. Well, in academics, 15 to 20 years time is very limited. Okay, so I can say that. The primary thing that I have always found is that it is an attitude towards quality, and also the awareness that we need to have assessment on a regular basis. And of course, accreditation is the tool with which I would think that this will happen. So what we basically emphasize is that if you look at the logo that is on the right side of the screen, you will find we are saying self-regulation with accreditation. The idea behind accreditation is to help you to ensure that you have self-regulation built in. It's not somebody, some external regulator comes and tells you like AICTE or something, say that comply with this, this and this. No, you basically are saying that this is what I am and this is what I want to do. And there are the accreditation agencies that will help you with their standards, principles, whatever it is. And that in turn will help you to, come with your accreditation standards, which is will regulate you. That is basically a self-regulation policy. I think that is what we should really be aiming at when it comes to quality. So that's the reason why we gave a very simple topic, quality in management education, so that all facets of this quality can be covered by the way we will look at these things. So in the context, I also have to mention that we have to talk about future of employment, because the kind of employment that is coming up is completely different from what it has been all these years. So we really don't know where we are going, and there is a lot of talk and discussion and everything else is going on at this point of time. And definitely you as the shapers of the future managers and the engineers and so on and so forth, all of you are definitely responsible for the future of the employment as it's going on. So you need to understand that. Then, of course, technology, all of us are very much aware. We are ourselves right now on a technology platform, we're talking. But then there is a lot of disruption that is going on. I mean, a lot of disruption. In fact, that's the reason why you would possibly every other day you will find an update. That means basically you are saying that I will improve what you have in your hand. And apart from all of that, we can also disrupt. Disrupt means what we are used to suddenly will go away out of the window, and then the next will come. Like, for example, when we had the cell phones, the initial cell phones were not having all these features that we are having today. And all these features got built in the last 10 years or so, and completely different. This is the technology disruption within the narrow area of our own use. So we'll be talking about some of those things. And I also want to see that when we talk about management education, for example, we'll say Harvard. We are like Harvard. We are like IIM. We are like all that kind of stuff. We really need to understand how top business schools are working, and how does it help us to understand what quality is, how their approach to quality is all about. So probably briefly I'll touch upon all of this. And of course, NEP, Professor Pokhriyal mentioned about NEP. And the president of AIMS, Dr. Nandagopal, was a very good friend of mine. We keep talking most of the time only this specific aspect, because this is going to be overarching thing that's going to control quality of the future and the kind of education that we are going to impart to our students in the future. And primary aspect in all of this is teaching and learning. So there is definitely a lot of debate in these areas. I will also be touching upon. And finally, of course, it's leadership. Ultimately, if the leadership is not good, it's not going to happen. So Dr. Joshi Saab, thank you so much. Can you just shift the next one? So you specifically in this country, we have 1 to 2 years, 2 years plus and so on. And 1 to 2 years is the general model. And the 1 year model was not even there until ISB came in. And now, of course, we have 1 year models, which is existing almost everywhere. Executive management education or those kind of things are 1 year models. Then we have online, which is generally about 3 years, 2+ years. It could be more, it could be 5 years, it could be flexible. And I need to add to this particular slide, which I have borrowed from MBA.com, lifelong learning. Now, lifelong learning is something that I am very excited about, because I think that in future, the business schools or the engineering colleges, when you enroll your students, they will not reappear to your campus as alumni, but as students only. Lifelong learning. That is something, a new model that has to be worked on. And even NEP has not really mentioned beyond the words saying the lifelong learning, but there is no structure or a process by which you can have the lifelong learning. I would expect personally that most of the schools in future will be admitting students for a lifelong learning aspect. So thank you very much. So the next slide, please. Okay, now look at this. This is the most interesting thing that I was just looking at this. When I was looking at this topic, I was just wondering what is changing. Then I found that it's really amazing that almost everything, whatever that we are used to in the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, everything is changing. It has been changing only the last few years. So NEP is in fact a reflection of this change that is taking place all around. Whatever criticisms anybody might have, including me on NEP, but definitely we did need a document of this kind, and this kind of an approach was absolutely needed because almost everything is changing. Like, for example, teaching. Teaching was used to be a classroom kind of session where we have textbooks, and a professor who has studied or who has done a PhD some 30 years back will be teaching the same thing again and again and again. That kind of stuff is gone, completely gone. You have to be immersive. Immersive means you have to participate in everything. It should be project oriented, live cases, not just cases which happened about 20 years back. And as to learning is concerned, it should be diversified. You can't be just saying that I come to the class. If I don't come to the class, I don't learn. There is nothing like that. You have to learn across the board. And the way we learn, not just classroom, we also do online and everything else. So hybrid is the way of going. And like I said, lifelong learning. Lifelong learning, in fact, has been existing in many other fields, like, for example, the airline industry. You cannot be a pilot or a captain or whatever it is without passing every 2 years or so a certification examination from DGCA, or in Indian case, DGCA. So we are already having this sort of thing, and I'm going to see this trend happening in every other field of education. You have to be a lifelong learner. And governance has become very professional. Even university is also becoming very, very professional. The board is reflecting all of that, and the discussion that the owners are, occupying too much of the board space is also because of this particular reason, that governance is changing. And more corporate involvement is there. Corporate universities are there. Corporate people, leaders, and all of those people will be there. And invariably, it is hands-on. It's hands-on. Governance is always hands-on, and is very, very, very positive sign that is taking place today. As far as finance is concerned, earlier it used to be funding either from the owner, the government in this case, for example, in IIM's case, IIT's case, but no longer. We are really talking about a very, very diversified financial inputs which are taking place in the academic industry. Not just student fee, which we are all used to. 90% of the business schools, for example, are run on student fee, but that is changing, completely changing. And I would even expect that private equity will come in, and bank financing will come in. All these things are taking place. We have been debating this. I myself has created this kind of debate for a long time. But I think this is going to happen very soon. You may even have an equity in one of the IIMs, for example, or one of the top business schools, for example. You might be able to even trade them in the stock market and so on. So those kind of changes that are definitely taking place. Technology, a lot of things have been talked about. You can say the library management, say, or classroom, everything else is changing. So learning management systems are going to become very high intense, and they are changing completely. Leadership, innovative, creative, and hands-on. That's the kind of leadership you get. Research, definitely we have to continue. In fact, the emphasis on research was not that much. So NEP, in fact, I made it very clear that teaching universities and research universities, I think it's a great classification. Only thing is, in practical terms, how it will be reflecting is what we have to see. But research will have to be a very key component of academics and education. Quality and standards, absolute must, a moving target. Accreditation is the key. That's what I believe very seriously. And all these things will result in the brand equity. Brand equity in this case is accreditation. What are the components that decide brand equity is what we are talking about. Ranking definitely is, accreditation is, the board, and so on. All these things are a reflection of what the brand is we are talking about today. All right, the next slide, please. See, look at this. This is the kind of MBA specialization in India. The first four, that finance, marketing, human resource, and international business, is what is standard. And in Indian context, rural management, agribusiness management, healthcare, entrepreneurship, these are all very important aspects which has now happened. And supply chain, of course, is a very key component. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So look at this MBA syllabus. HR, I have just taken only the first four because they are the key component from which everything else flows. For example, take finance, financial reporting, managerial accounting, portfolio management, financial risk management, and so on. And if it comes to MBA in IT, there's a lot of things that are happening here. So let's move on from here. So we are not including international business here. So I'm going to include international business in my next slide. Yeah. Next slide, please. I'm a little bit rushing because this is how it's going to become, otherwise I won't be able to cover the topic that I've taken. So in MBA finance, for example, you see all these aspects are there. I'm specifically mentioning finance in a different context, which you can see in the next slide. By the way, this PPT will be shared with you so that you can also do some further reading from what I am pointing out. Okay, the next slide, please. Next slide is in marketing, and I'll come to the blockchain eventually. The next slide, please. It's on marketing. Marketing, most of you are definitely familiar with. And only thing is here, the interesting thing is about the technology that is being employed in marketing. Like digital marketing is going to be a very important thing. Website and what do you call it? CMS. Then project management, graphic design, all these things are becoming part of the marketing tech. So you cannot say that you can teach marketing without understanding what technology that is being employed. So this is from the HubSpot. HubSpot's their own image is covering almost everything from AI to what most of us are getting used to at this point of time, using Google search and so on. So a lot of things are here. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so market tech involves some of these new categories. There are 7 of them listed here. Basically, you need to really understand what are the content creation tools that are available and content management tools that are also available at this point of time. And marketing automation systems, account-based marketing system, lead management tools. Lead management tools is a very, very important aspect of marketing today because leads are coming from practically in any direction. But how do you manage these leads in order to convert them into sales is something that most of the companies are grappling with at this point of time. And data management is definitely a very, very serious issue. Data analytics, business analytics, and data management, big data, and data on cloud, and so on and so forth. All these things are being debated this right now. And of course, reporting tools. These are also all these are basically corporate-led tools which are being developed by different people at different names, but they are all more or less the same as I have listed over here. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so when it comes to HR is a very interesting thing today. Everybody is talking about because we are talking about recession and Google's layoffs, and Apple is laying off, everybody else is laying off, and there is a general sense of panic at this point of time. But then, as business schools, as engineering colleges, we need to really focus on the HR processes that are changing. Today, the change is definitely taking place. And based on which we are going to have a completely different profile of companies down the line. And in fact, for example, Sundar Pichai, as went in open, he says that all those sleeping pods and the elaborate lunches and the outings and everything else is going to be controlled. Right now, they have advised everyone to stay from at home and work from home. But then down the line, when they come back to the office will not resemble what it used to be earlier on. But then at the same time, Apple, for example, is going around to town and saying that we have built this huge park. In fact, I remember way back when the IT boom started in Bangalore. Bangalore happened to be a garden city, which you all know. And most of the companies located in Bangalore set aside a piece of land for parks. I mean, right in front of their house, their offices, there used to be nice, beautiful gardens. And slowly and steadily, of course, all of them were occupied with buildings and so on. But then, this is the kind of future of corporate employment and employee benefits and so on. There is a lot of debate going on right now. Yeah, next one, please. Look at this. Human resource management really means how do you manage the personal data? It's very, very important. So all these are now going into tools, and most of this is where the robotics work, the AI work is going on. In fact, HR is very much, very center of attention for the AI developers. They are looking at grappling with all these data like HR and benefits administration, skill management, attendance and leave management, so on and so forth, which is applicable even in academic world also, because if you look at your own LMS today, most of your LMS is customized to give solutions, but then most of them do cover every process that you have. In fact, most of the processes are being automated, and which will lead to a completely different kind of academic, immersion. I mean, you have to really think of a completely different kind of academics as you go down the line. It's very, very exciting, I would say. But we have to do a lot of understanding. We need to really read. We need to really skill ourselves. We have to really understand what the future is going to be. So this is where the responsibility for faculty comes in a very, very serious fashion. You have to necessarily continue to pick up certificates, whether it is compulsory or otherwise. It's in your own personal interest. You really have to understand what technology that is going on, because like I'm just pointing out this slide itself, the industry is thinking different. The industry is actually investing a lot of money in upskilling their own workforce, and they would rather expect the campuses to deliver workforce which is quite skilled in a modern sense of the term. Modern technology absorption sense of the term. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Okay, there are 7 types of digital financial products that could take your company further. I just give you an example as to where all your challenge about the new AI tools which are coming in. They are kind of almost, they have a proper conversation like what I'm having with you. So we have fintech with social media. A lot of fintech is going on in the social market, virtual stock market. For a brief period of time, they ran it, actually. So social media coming with the stock market purely for training purposes. So they gave you money and they say that go and invest in stocks. So a lot of excitement around. It went on for some time. It's just a beta thing, I suppose, and then they gave it up. So all these areas are very, very important to us, the payment apps and all these things we need to really understand. So this is where we think, see, look at this. This is, personally for me, the blockchain is the most exciting kind of development that has taken place. I have tracked this very closely, and I find that blockchain, the next slide. The blockchain technology, which I'm talking about here, is going to sort of permeate across not just finance, but almost every other administrative. Like, for example, we are talking about big cities, the smart cities we are talking about. Most of the smart cities are going to be run with the blockchain technology. So this is where the future is actually lies. We are experiencing this sort of a thing in future. Okay, so I'm done with the blockchain because I think they're running out on time. I don't want to dwell on that. So let me just look at this slide right now. International business strategy that we are basically the whole idea behind what I was trying to explain this is that the faculty who are teaching various subjects relating to, for example, the international business strategy, would have to look at all these areas. In each of these areas, a lot of improvement. One of the questions that I do ask with the faculty that how much do you really know about WTO? Okay, this is last few years I've been asking this question. That how many of you, as a matter of course, if you're teaching international business, visit WTO.org. And I'm really amused and surprised that most of them don't. But you have to, because there is no choice. Because WTO.org, for example, gets so much of information from around the world, so many videos, so many PowerPoint presentations, so many white papers, all these kind of things pour into WTO. And if you are an international business teacher, then you will definitely benefit big time when you're looking at EU.org or WTO.org. So this is the idea behind what we are basically saying. If you can go in for the next slide, I'd really appreciate. Next slide, please. Is it moving? Okay, here we go. we need to really understand what is the future of workforce is going to be. If you look at this workforce, the profiling of the workforce has actually changed more than 10 years, I think, probably more than a decade or more. In fact, IT industry, when it peaked, so it became multicultural, mergers and acquisitions, which is taking place across the board, is actually making a lot more changes as far as the culture is concerned. Like, for example, I'm just having a brief chat with one of the young students that I know of. And she was saying something very interesting. She says, I have to join this company. First requirement for me is I need to have German. Okay, if I have to make a change to this other company, which I'm really, very wanting to really get into that, but I need to have to learn Chinese. So business schools have started teaching internationally, international languages and culture for quite some time. In fact, it's now become more or less the in thing with most of the good business schools to say that I also offer international languages as a subject, because it's very important, because the future workforce is going to be multicultural, multilingual, and so on. Then this the whole thing about gig economy. I think I see a lot of seminars and workshops going on gig. So they even try to say that gig is actually gigabyte. It's not gigabyte. It's 20s and 30s jazz music world introduced this thing called gig, because they used to call their music shows as gig. But it's something like that. It's very huge amount of energy. When we are talking about Industry 4.0, or now we are talking in terms of Industry 5.0, there is a huge amount of energy that is flowing now, and everybody has to come up to shape for this kind of economy. So the future economy is going to be global. Future economy, like for example, Air India goes and places an order for so many, almost 500 planes, Boeing and Airbus, then we are really talking about around the world. Indians have to go around, and get themselves familiar with what is going on in the industry. Though Airbus and Boeing will be sourcing, but we will be involved in the entire process to understand where from they are sourcing what. So I'm talking about just an example of what sort of economy which is coming up now. Just like this fun thing, you have to take these things in a fun sort of way, and only then you're going to really understand where the future really lies. And of course, we need to have to discuss and talk to robots, because robots are going to greet you everywhere. Hotels, for example, would have the robot standing in front of the gate, greeting you with your name, with your address, your background, everything else. A lot of things, a huge amount of things are taking place. Knowledge of AI and ML and their possibilities are absolutely important for the faculty, because every student coming into your classroom would have far more knowledge of the subject than you have, but you have the kind of wisdom which they don't have. That's the only link that you might be able to have, and for which you need to really understand how AI and ML are functioning, where we are going. And the ethics in AI is a very, very serious subject, with faculty will be able to really appreciate and understand and communicate with the students who will in future be building AI and ML systems. Work from home is a big challenge, and COVID, in fact, helped us to understand what work from home is all about. But then somewhere along the line, we lost track of that. And academics, for example, all of you are damn good experts. In much less time, you learned the technology and everything else. But once the COVID lifted, all of you are back in the classroom. I think hybrid mode has not been taken that kind of importance, and we need to look at it. And the future of workforce is going to be more or less working from home. Their motivation levels have to be very good. Their knowledge gathering levels have to be there, and so on. A lot of challenges are there. And you as producers, the future managers, have to be aware of all these future workforce requirements. And this is the most exciting thing for me. Smaller cluster-based corporates are going to be the future. And even in academics, you have this whole thing about people teaching from the classroom. What you have organized campuses, but then you also have campuses which are offering like Upgrad and people like that, who are in the cloud, and Byju's, Upgrad, and all these people are also getting into the international, the PhD, higher education space, and so on. So something like this in corporates is going to be a small cluster-based corporates only. The brand will be there, but then they'll be working in clusters around the world because you have working from home option which are available. And finally, because of the environment considerations, we have to really get into the circular economy orientation. Circular economy is that whatever that you produce will have to come back in one big circle, come back to you, and you should be involved in the entire process of how do you not waste anything on the ground. So there is a lot of debate going on, lots of books are being written, a lot of webinars and other things are going on in circular economy. So that orientation has to come from you in the classroom. This is what my focus would be. If you're talking about a quality business education or quality engineering education, you have to really understand all these aspects with which the future of the workers will be grappling with. So this is why I'm bringing up this subject. So next slide, please. Okay. Now, my question to all of you, I mean, many of you would definitely, at the time of Q&A session, you can definitely answer. Maybe you can ask questions or more. You look at this list. Can you relate to any of these titles? I'm not talking in terms of hands-on you should be relating to, but you should relate to yourself. You should understand what this is all about. Career growth master. I mean, master in career growth, like master classes. You know what master class is? I mean, I was very amused when people said master class. Well, a master is only teaching. He's a PhD. Obviously, he's teaching the class. Why do you call it a master class? They said, no, the class content is going to be that of very focused, very narrow, at the same time, very deep. So that's called master class. So now we are talking about career growth master. Who is this career growth master? The guy who can actually help you to understand what your career growth should be, what is the path, what is the trajectory that you should have, and so on. And here is another set of people who are now coming in. They're calling themselves a mid-career performance coach. Well, why mid-career performance coach? Because mid-career will make or break you. Because up to mid-career position, you would have come in a kind of structured way. But once you come to a mid-career, then you have to really take the hard option of which direction you're going to go. So this is where the career master will come in. So the second is the first, actually. Then you have talent strategist. Who's a talent strategist? What does he do? Like you people will teach in the classroom, this talent strategist is going to teach people how to shape up their talent. What kind of certification can you have? What kind of learning you should have? Who are the people who you should be networking with, and so on. Skill development, executive coach. These are all familiar terms, which I'm sure I don't want to go into that, but there is a lot of technology involvement here, a lot more of exciting debate that's going on here. How can we get into this space? Especially executive coach, because executive coach is a high risk but high remunerative option, because mostly top business school professors are executive coaches themselves. Well, recruitment strategist, like your admission strategist, many of you no longer leave the admission as an automatic process. Most of you invest huge amount of money, huge amount of talent, huge amount of time for admissions to your campuses. So something similar is happening in corporates, where recruitment strategists becoming very, very important. And a very high level of positions are there to control these kind of strategies. Okay, we have learning process strategies, learning process both in your campuses as well as in corporate campuses, corporate working environment. You need to have a learning process. You have to understand the learning process, and somebody has to strategize so that they will save the corporate money and as well as your own time. For you, time is money. So you need to be understanding the things which from that perspective. Then, of course, you have digital technology coach. Digital technology is evolving so much that any amount of coaches, any amount of knowledge they may have, may not be enough. Tomorrow, some other new technology will come and you will not be able to really follow through. So gig economy, same thing. You need to really understand what gig economy is all about. Somebody has to really sit and understand this and learn and then specialize in this area so that you can teach them. Okay, this is what it is. Now you come to sustainable development coach. sustainable development coach. This is something which I'm very personally very concerned with. We are members of United Nations Global Compact. United Nations Global Compact has fixed 2030 as a deadline, in which we are really going to talk about some of these sustainable development areas. Okay, so we are talking about the 17 SDGs, that is Sustainable Development Goals. Everybody is rushing into it, and most of you would have to be familiar with. If you are not familiar, please go through the UN Global Compact website. There is a lot of things which are going on, and if you come to our own website, also we have a page on Global Compact, and please go through that. It's very, very important for you. And also the other thing, this is also very exciting to me, social impact assessor. You know who this guy? This is a completely new guy. What he's going to do is this, that he's going to really look at your education strategies and processes and say that whether this is impacting on society. The social disconnect is a very serious issue in academics. That's the reason why many of you are not understood properly. Many of you are not involved in the social processes only because there is a disconnect. So that disconnect has to end for absolute need for the future. So social impact is going to be a major, major affair. And we'll see what the future holds for you. But I would request all of you to please understand what is Global Compact Network doing now, and what is the kind of future that which we are really talking about today. Okay, so next slide, please. Thank you. And before I go on to this slide, I want to thank many of you have just been giving me feedback on this chat, saying that the list is very good. I think Professor T.V. Rao was mentioning that the list is very good. Well, this is something that came from my heart. I just wrote it because I've been following these things very closely. Then I understand that this is absolutely needed, and we need to really take this to the classroom, and we need to make the faculty aware that this is where we are going. Okay, now I want to come to my core subject, which is accreditation. Now, people say that you have to go for accreditation, you have to go for this agency, that agency, and so on. Now, there is absolute urgent need, because NEP clearly says that the future of your own existence is going to come from accreditation, because they don't want to have these regulatory processes as a standalone process, but it should be connected somewhere to accreditation. So regulation is going, accreditation is coming, or accreditation replacing regulation to a large extent. But there's something else here. I said NEP is the reason why you want to go for accreditation? Not at all. In fact, accreditation should be a natural process of building quality to be taken up voluntarily. This has been our stand from the beginning. We say that you should not go for accreditation because somebody else says so. You should go for accreditation because you are already ready for it. When you are ready for it, only then you should go for accreditation, because accreditation is not a brand equity building exercise. Accreditation is something, it's an endorsement of where I have reached. So this is very important. That is the kind of approach that you should have. So globally, accreditation is voluntary, a sort of endorsement of the schools seek having achieved global quality. So basically, the point is that you should, first of all, have absolute clarity as which direction you are going. That's what your vision and mission statement is all about. And once you have got that kind of clarity, then you should go and ask the endorsement from some of the globally well-known accreditation agencies. They should be very, very good, because I have something else to say on this. Accreditation leads to self-regulation and cannot be confused with regulation itself. I said it right at the beginning of this presentation, that self-regulation is the goal of accreditation, and self-regulation should also be your own goal. And here I want to mention something. Most of you should have absolute clarity as to what your own future or your own focus is. So this is actually part of self-regulation. Self-regulation means not just institutional regulation, but self itself. In the sense, you should have absolute clarity as to which direction you're going, why you're going in that direction, what is the use of that approach of yours is going to be in the classroom, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for the students who are passing out, using your own talent at some stage, okay? So I have this list here because this is common across all the accreditation systems. Why accreditation? Uh, and what are the common aspects that are measured across accreditation system? If you look at this, vision and mission. See, why vision and mission? Because that will only tell you that where you want to go, because each is an individual. At the end of the day, please understand every institution has its own approach, a completely different approach. So everybody should have a vision, and there should be a clear mission to achieve that vision. So that is very important, though we measure all of that. Leadership, what kind of leadership you have, and all the leadership principles you are teaching in the classroom applies very much to the academic leadership as well. Strategic planning, student outcome is absolutely needed. There are lots and lots of work which is going on here. My own partner institution called Peregrine Academics, they've been specializing in this area of student outcome assessment, and a lot of work is going on around the world. Financial integrity, you have seen in your own small world, academic world, how much of ruin that has come because of lack of financial integrity. Elsewhere, of course, right now you have this debate going on in the country about integrity of financial resources. Institutional brand equity, there's another big aspect. Most of the institutions are worried about the facade. It's not facade. Facade means the frontage, the kind of labels, the kind of swimming pools, the gym, and so on. That is not what we are talking about.
Sir, maybe we can, Sir Raman sir.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we can go 5 more minutes because.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot. I will wind up. No problem.
Right, sir.
Couple of more slides and I'm done. Okay, don't worry.
Right, sir.
Okay, so I'm going here. Faculty sufficiency and outcome. That's a very important aspect. Many of the institutions have numbers but not quality. So this is where my quality aspect comes in. Not only sufficiency but high quality. Curriculum robustness in terms of content. Then global benchmarking and internationalization. Global benchmarking comes automatic if you take up international accreditation. This is where we promote international accreditation as a subject because that's where I think the future lies. Next slide, please. Yeah. Look at this. This is why I said international accreditation is very useful. Take ESASB. You know what they're talking about? Look at this. They're talking about trends. They say that the digital age has already come and acceleration of the new technologies would all depend on how you understand these things. So look at the acceleration here. It took 38 years for radio to reach 50 million users. That time was 13 years for TV. TV reached in 13 years 50 million users. And 3 years for the internet. See the way things are happening, how they are getting compressed. 1 year for Facebook, 9 months for Twitter, 35 days for Angry Birds, and 19 days for Pokemon Go. This is where the future, like for example, right now you have this GPT. I'm sure many of you must be familiar with this ChatGPT. If you're not familiar, down the line in the next 2 weeks, you will find practically every newspaper will be talking about it. This ChatGPT took probably even less than a couple of months to become that big. It has become very, very big. The user base is expanding. It's reaching 1 billion right now. And it was just introduced probably a few weeks back. It became popular. Okay. So we are talking about, next slide, please. So this is this information is coming from an international accreditation agency. So when you say international accreditation, you are not really talking only in terms of getting your endorsement, your label, and the 3 faculty visiting you for 3 days and so on. It's not just that. It's about content. It's about handholding. It's about knowledge. It's about information. This is the kind of research that comes into help for you when you take up accreditation. Because across the world, their experiences are getting compressed by these accreditation agencies, and they make sure that this is how the future will happen. So you can see the text over here. And again, same thing, we're talking about how companies merge, how companies change, how they learn, how many of them go out of the window, and so on. So next slide, please. Next one. I'm going to take only 2 agencies. One I took AACSB, the other one is AMBA. AMBA is London-based accreditation agency. They are number 2, number 3, whatever you may call them. And these are the webinars. You see the list of webinars that they've been having. They're all relating to future technologies. And what has accreditation got to do with technologies? Everything. Practically every learning that is possible, it's coming from the technology world. And the technology world is changing. And it's time that we understood that technology, that as you go into the future. I think there should be, I think we should suggest to Professor Nandagopal saying that we should look at more of the futuristic technology sessions connected to academics, not just useful to academics, but also to understand the world as it were. Okay, next slide, please. I just listed a few of the webinars that they had. Next one. Okay, so International Accreditation Agency lineup. We brought these agencies to India. This is the reason why we brought all of these to India. WACSB, FMD, AMBA, ACBSB, ISCB, SACS, British Accreditation Council, Business Graduate Association, all these ABET. Every one of these agencies we were able to deal with and bring their information and knowledge to India. And we have the Indian accreditation agencies, NAC and NBA. Then you have NABH. This is for the hospitals. And next slide, please. So these are the accreditation agencies that you should really be familiar with if you're looking at quality in your campuses. Next slide, please. With that, I think probably okay, so the characteristics, again, we are talking about in terms of mentor-driven, which is a very big focus. And right now in the Indian accreditation agency is also seriously thinking in terms of whether we should have mentors or not. Like this, there are a lot of, this list is also for you to know that it should be peer-reviewed, measures should lead to continuous improvement. You just can't say that I got accreditation, therefore I'm happy. No, you're not happy. You're happy only for a year, after which you have to go for improvement. And you should show that you are improved. So it's completely outcome-based because it's the reason why this is happening. Okay, next one, please. Because your students are changing, right? So institution also has to change according to the students that are coming in. So we help in these various ways. You can go to my website. I don't want to dwell on this. I don't want to do marketing here. So next one, please. Next slide. Okay, so one of the things that I think many of you should really be seriously looking at is that please visit these websites or visit these conferences, SEAA and CIQG. Okay, these two organizations in the American context, EQUAR in European context, in QA International in terms of London, in terms of England. Apart from all of this, please be aware of the international accreditation mills. I was shocked and surprised that in India, there are a lot of accredited institutions from all these various accreditation